Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2019 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live from McGillivray Speedway in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. Tonight's show is presented, as always, by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, and SVRA. A couple things to mention. I assume that most of you watched the Honda Indy 200 from Mid-Ohio. How'd you like the race? Was it a good race? Did you like the winner? Did you like the young man who was here a couple weeks ago and almost beat him? Yeah, it was good. Also, I'm sure you all heard that Honda and Andretti and Alexander Rossi all got together, signed a contract Saturday, announced it. So Alexander is with Andretti Autosport for, I think, a 3 or 4 year contract, so that should be good. Next up for the Indy cars is the ABC Supply 500 from the Pocono Raceway. It'll be televised live on NBC Sports Network beginning at 2 p.m. on August the 18th. So keep that in mind. And the Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway is August 23rd and 24th, and it's going to be featuring the Vintage Indy Registry cars. And if anybody is looking for a bus ticket and a ride over there, I've got one. No, I don't, but somebody does, who had a conflict and can't go. So if you're interested in going, it's I think $163.50. It's a bus ride over, a ticket. You get some snacks and maybe have a couple of good laughs. And of course, this weekend is a big one, SVRA. Strange that they're here because that's what we're here to talk about. Oh yeah, so if you're looking to go to Gateway, let me know, and I'll direct you to the lady that has the ticket, who happens to be sitting here. Jack Harvey's not here. I don't understand why she's here, but she is. Don't forget Wednesday night's bike night at McGillivrays. Got a bike you like to ride? That's you. Bring your bike over. If you're looking for new home insurance for your home, your car, or commercial property, do what many of us have done. Call call VP Insurance, and they get you AAA, among others. Mike Pardee will take care of you. There's a bunch of us that have now signed up. I'll be one of them, and he's phenomenal. The number is 317-248-0070. And if you want to really find out what it's like to ride in an Indy car, there's only one good way to do it, and there's somebody in here who just did it, and that's the Indy Racing Experience. You get to ride in a 2-seater. If you're interested in doing it, you can go to IndyRacingExperience.com, or you can call the office at 317-243-7171. Ask for Shonda and tell her SJ1. You get a 50% discount. I have two guests, or a number of guests actually, coming in tonight. The one, of course, sitting next to me is the CEO and the guy that's jump-started vintage racing in America. He bought SVRA. He's now majority owner in Trans Am, and that's coming back to life. Got all kinds of things going on, and at the not too distant future, he's going to be getting married. So if he thought he had trouble now, please welcome Mr. Tony Parella.
Thank you.
Now you're really scraping down because you're Grand Marshal. As far as I know, he can still walk. He can't run real well anymore. But Dick Simon will be here as a Grand Marshal. What's new? What have you done new since you were here the last time? And we don't have but 5 minutes.
I proposed.
Yeah, you did.
Probably outside of proposing, one of the big things I did is hire this guy next to me.
Is that a bodyguard? I don't know who he is.
Oh, this is the new president of SVRA, Matt Breeden, and let me tell you about him. He, in a past life, he was a general counsel for Champ Car. He was very involved with setting the schedule, TV deals for IndyCar. Was a lawyer on the staff, negotiated all the agreements.
A lawyer?
He's a lawyer. He's a smart operator, and this is the next step in our evolution. I've had a president running Trans Am since I bought it, but I've acted as president and CEO of SVRA since day one, and to be honest with you, I can't keep up anymore. It's gotten so big, and the demands of trying to run it, and the realities of life is I turned 60 a week ago. And I'm planning on sticking around, and I got a lot to accomplish, but you got to have a succession plan if you're running a business of this scale, and meet my succession plan, as well as going to carry a meaningful part of taking us from where we are. I have maintained since day one we would someday be part of mainstream motorsports in America, and that certainly couldn't happen just on my back. You need real gifted leaders to do that, and I believe this guy is, a huge part of the puzzle, piece of the puzzle. But I also added Jim Cassidy, who used to run the Infinity Series for NASCAR. He's on my board. And my thinking was, obviously NASCAR and IndyCar, two prominent pieces in motorsports in America, getting two executives or former executives from those two camps to join SVRA, either at a board level or an operating level, is a huge step towards where I want to go, and that's why he's here. And frankly, it's awesome. To put in perspective, I already signed a 3-year deal here today that we're back for 3 more years at Indy, and I got my date back on Father's Day, which is really what I wanted. So that was his doing. That wasn't my doing. So I'm turning him loose. Go get him. And I've never maintained I had all the answers. I just had to get it going, and now I got to get the reinforcements to take it to the next level.
Matt, were you looking for a job? You had nothing to do, and you said, "Oh, Tony, you need any help?"
Well, it's a little something like that.
I see.
I've been following this series for a number of years, really since the first SVR race at IMS, when I was really introduced to what vintage racing
Talk a little
can
closer.
be.
There you go.
You got it. So the vintage race that I first saw here at IMS 6 years ago really introduced me to the SVRA, and I saw that what Tony was doing really shifted the paradigm for vintage racing. And I'm excited over the last several years to have seen what he's done. Not only is he adding additional competitors, but he's added so many additional sponsors, and that's something that in the vintage world, really is a monumental shift, and we're looking forward to pushing that more mainstream.
Now, do I ask him the question, or should I ask you? I've seen a lot on Facebook about, hey, SVRA is not doing anything with vintage Indy cars. Why?
Ask me that one.
Okay, I'll ask you.
I don't want to throw them to the wolves already. I actually had invited the first couple of years I opened it up to all open wheel to run the oval only. And the concept was guys had never experienced driving on the oval at speed. I opened it up, and I had guys, and the rules were simple. Go as fast as you want in a straightaway, no passing on the curves, because your cars aren't inspected for 200-mile-an-hour speeds, and leave room. And if you pass on the turns, I'm going to black flag you. And of course, some wannabe racer stretched what I agreed to, and I had an incident. Okay, go back to next year. I tried a second time. Almost the identical situation. I said, that's it. I'm going to do it from 72 and older, pre-ground effects cars. That way they're not going to hit the speeds, and I'll keep a tighter rein on them. 2 years ago, somebody got out there with a vintage car, not 1 lap, 2 laps, oiled the entire track. I had to convert the track. I had to clean up the track, and I had to spend $13,000 on Speedy Dry because he didn't know what red flag or black flag meant because he wasn't a normal racer. I ate that one. Last year, one of the roadsters put the car in the wall. This year at Indy and Legends Day, somebody who didn't belong in the car, wasn't schooled, stuffed the car in the wall. I put out the invitations for the roadsters only this year. 2 ways. One way, I invited them to the Hilton Head Concours because I'm associated with that now. Said, come as my guest. I want to have a really super class showing at the Hilton Head Concours. Not one entered. And I personally invited them and was comping their entry. And then I put out entry here. And 3 guys, as of a month ago, signed up. 3. But then I put out invitations to Formula Ford for the 50th anniversary, and 93 of them registered. So I'm sitting here going, I got to convert a track. I got no control over these guys, and there's 3 of them. Or I can split the people who paid to be here, 90 plus of them, into 2 groups and have a feature with the top 50 and the bottom 50, essentially. That was my decision. There's some guy on Facebook that's pissed off at me because I did that. I did.
Darn.
What else you got?
There's your answer.
Now, did he?
What? There's another one on Facebook.
Oh boy.
Well, there's one more. Because I mean, I am a nut about responding to people. I mean, I take a lot of pride. Somebody calls me, they email me, they say something. Who called? I'll call them. Let me talk. I want every single, down to that last customer. Guy posts on Facebook, you need to have showers in turn 3. There's no showers for campers. I rent IMS. I don't own it. But I said, I got this. I called them. I was respectful. I spent 37 minutes on the phone with them. I called IMS. Is there any way we can get that done? They said, no, Tony, we really can't. And there was a lot of legitimate reasons. The guy's a local guy. Then he says, and another thing, I'm not coming because you're not charging people or you're not having open Friday. You only have it Saturday and Sunday. Well, Friday we're doing it for free. You okay if I charge you, but if it's free, it doesn't work? I don't understand. So he said I didn't call him back, but I told him if I could make it happen, I'll call you back. If not, in all likelihood, don't camp this. If that's an issue for you that you got to do over in turn 4, don't camp. Just come and visit. In fact, you can come as my guest. I told him, but he's still mad. So welcome to my world. It is what it is. Now it's Matt's problem.
I was going to
That's
say.
exactly right. So maybe he'll work a little less than 25 hours a day.
Is that it?
Maybe.
A week or a day?
No, a day.
A day, I
A
see.
day.
Are you listening to this and saying, what the hell did I get myself into?
Nope. I've heard all these stories and I'm all set.
You know, I'll tell you one thing that SVRA has that almost no other series has. When you come in to register where you're a car owner, you're coming in like a bum like me. He's got Kim,
My wife.
soon to be.
Soon.
But she said if you stumble, I'm next in line. No, I'm sorry, I don't want to insult you. You're not that dumb. But I've stood and watched her. I lean up, I sit in the windowsill and just watching. Guys come in, I can't. When he leaves, he's smiling. Every time. Now, of course, if you look at that smile, you got to smile. What the heck? So, are things bigger than you thought you would be at this time with SVRA?
Yeah, I think so. In some respects, we've been really, really fortunate on the sponsorship side, and I really thought in the original plan we would be successful with sponsors because we had a lot to offer. Our scale. If you're a race-related sponsor, tires, gas, fire suits, helmets, when you got over 4,000 entries in a year, a lot of opportunities to sell them stuff. It's not hard to figure out why those guys come to us. But when you start getting Avis Rent-A-Car, Chapard Watch, Jaguar, Land Rover, Alfa Romeo, Mazda, all these luxury brands, Merrill Lynch, Wealth Advisors, and NetJets, and those guys come to you, that's because of the wealth that's in the paddock and opportunity for our racers of our scale. But now it's interesting. I had a conference call with a well-known insurance company. They called me today while I was at IMS, and they're a consumer brand that you see on TV every day saying, we really would like to know more about what you're doing. So I'm seeing, finally, with Avis, we've talked to a couple of hotel chains. I'm finally seeing us cross into the consumer brand because of our spectator gates. And that was always the model. And, with the magazine and all the other things that we do on behalf of our sponsors, it's, I think we approach it different. And I'm really thankful for what we've been able to accomplish there.
So what are you bringing in? I mean, when he called you and said, how would you like to be president? And you, yeah, okay. Are you thinking, holy smoke, this is more than I thought? Or did... or were you up to speed pretty
I,
much?
I wouldn't say it was more than I thought. I would say that what Tony has built is an incredible foundation, and it's something I'm excited to build on. You know, we've got 14 great events all throughout the country. We've got an incredible group of competitors, a great group of sponsors. I mean, one of the things you were talking about the sponsorship group, but it's also the activation. You know, this weekend, Jaguar is going to be out there with their autocross course where all the attendees can come in and drive one of the brand new Jaguars and hit it hard on the autocross course. Harley Davidson will be there with motorcycles where, you know, the fans will be able to, if you got a valid motorcycle license, take a Harley out for a spin. I mean, it's those kind of things that separate SVRA from other vintage events.
Is Billy Davidson going to be here? Well, he used to hang out with us. And I didn't know who his dad was. Willy, what's his name? Willy something or other. And he came to Road America, and they ride up, and this guy's got this fabulous bike, and all of a sudden there's hundreds of people. You know who that is? No, I have no clue. He's the best designer of motorcycles in the world. It's Willy Davidson.
Absolutely.
Holy smokes.
His grandfather started it all.
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable. So Harley, although they say they're struggling a little bit, I see Harleys all over the place. It can't be that bad. What were you doing prior to your call from Tony?
So prior to my call from Tony, I was working for a company that many of you probably know, Racetrack Engineering. They do all the audio at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I was their CFO. Prior to that, I was at IndyCar.
CFO, that means he knows dollars and cents.
Yeah, dollars and cents, and I'm also an attorney.
I'm watching to see if your lips are moving. It's making me nervous. Why have you not practiced law?
I have practiced law.
I mean,
absolutely.
Full time.
So when I went to law school, it was never really my goal to be an attorney practicing in a courtroom. I always wanted to be in motorsports. It's always been it's kind of been a part of me growing up, and you know, was fortunate enough to work at Champ Car as their general counsel, practiced law there, and then did a little bit of private practice after that, representing some teams and drivers. But really, the motorsports sanctioning body side, that's the sweet spot. So for me, the ability to work with a growing property that you know, I find is incredibly unique within the motorsports arena is something I couldn't pass up.
Were you around when the IRL first started?
So I was on the team side. My father was a team owner at that point.
You were?
Yeah.
Because there was, and I can't think of his name, there was a driver who was an attorney. He drove, John Lopes was his vice president or general manager of the team out of Texas. His dad and I got along really well. I don't know, and I can't think of his name because...
I was a kart guy.
Who? Oh, yeah, okay, never mind. Okay, by the way, how are they doing?
Exactly, that's why we did the merger.
Do you consider, now I'm sure there's a number of vintage series that are in existence. I know of two. Gary Munshine from Pennsylvania with the Classic Racing Times, and of course Mike Lashmid at the Vintage Indy Registry. Do you consider them competition, or because they've said because of what Tony's doing has gotten attention to us and has helped us grow as well?
No, I honestly, I don't think in the vintage community there's really a whole lot of competition. Guys like what you described with, I know Gary, and it's a specialized niche. He's got a really cool deal what he does with vintage Indy cars, and they run predominantly on oval, and they're doing more oval exhibition than true racing. Great, and you know, but there's a lot of nonprofit clubs that I view. I put ads for them in our magazine. There's schools we advertise, because the reality is not many vintage racers are going to run my whole series. They're not going to run 14 events. They're going to run the ones that are within 500 miles or 1,000 miles of their home. But they might come to Indy once every 3 years. They might go to Watkins Glen every couple of years. They may go to Road America, COTA, Laguna. But they're not going to run all of them, you know, Sebring. But if these, what I call feeder clubs or nonprofit clubs are regionalized, they typically have between 100 and 300 members, and they're enthusiasts. They will come to a couple races a year, and this being one of them, we got, you know, there's 90 Formula Fords or whatever the final number is. I saw 2 caravans filled with them from California that loaded in today. So, you know, they may not come here next year, but for this reunion, and it's special that Indy, of course, they'll come.
When you first came here, you had 700 cars, and you had to move the third and fourth turn out so you'd have room to get everybody in. Blank piece of, everybody, how many cars, and I think you limited last year or the last couple of years to like 300 or 350.
That's what we got. We'll do, between Trans Am and the vintage side, we'll do probably 310 or 315, something like that this week. I won't do more than that again here, because what happens, the schedule it's too crowded on the track, you'll have an incident, I'll spend half the day cleaning up messes instead of racing, nobody has a good time, including me, and it's just not worth it. The first year, because nobody knew if it would be a second year, and they had the shingle, I hung the shingle, we're open for business, it got away from me. People were yelling at me when I said we were full at 500. And who are you to say I can't go? Well, it got a little antsy. I was racing at SVRA before you knew it existed type of conversation. So I it's kind of leveled out. COTA was the same way when we first went to F1 track down in Texas. And now that's normalized. That one is a little bit different layout. You can do a little bit more cars there easily. Watkins will do, there's Laguna, Watkins, here, COTA, we'll do anywhere from 350 to 500. But I will never do, here, it's just not worth it to do more than 300 to 350. And if I had pushed hard on the oval, guys, I probably could have put and opened it up to a wider broad. It's not worth it.
Yeah, but in Indy cars, you ran on the oval. Now you're running this Pro-Am and it runs the road course, and try and change from road course to oval overnight is rather costly, I would assume.
It costs you two ways. Track time is a precious commodity to these guys. So if I got to convert from oval to road course back to oval, I had to do it around lunch, had to do it late in the day, and then you got the Trans Am series, and then you got the V-Rock where we want to have a fan walk where fans can go up and get an autograph from a Donnie Beechler or a Johnny Rutherford or John Martin or Jimmy Kite. They want to meet these guys, so we make them as accessible as possible. And to do all of that, something had to give. But next year, I'll bet I do the oval again, but I'll be very select, and I'll bet when I send the invitation, they'll respond.
Are you, Matt, going to be involved in the Trans Am at all, or are you just...
So Trans Am has its own president. John Claggett is running that. John and I go way back, so we'll be working closely on all things SVRA and Trans Am to make sure that we're nice and efficient with our operations.
Are you guys going to butt heads? Hey, I want this time, Buster. You get your own time. You're going to have anything?
I think we'll be all right.
And you work with him where?
I worked with him at Champ Car.
Oh, how's that doing, by the way?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's because I was on Dick Simon Racing when IRL started. We ran both series.
Yeah, that's right.
We'd go to kart race, holy Toledo. Those guys just, I think Jimmy was there a couple of times. They'd holler at you, said nasty things. Some of them are true. That's the only problem.
There's a lot of good folks there.
Question, are you aware or have you considered developing an event like Goodwood Revival?
I get that one a lot.
Well, you got one here.
I would love nothing more than to have a Goodwood Revival in America. I was in England, met with now the Duke, and it used to be called Lord Marsh, now the Duke. Probably the most gracious gentleman I've ever sat down with. He opened up his home, and I had a wonderful lunch with him and his staff. The reality is, I don't think anyone could replicate what he has built in America. I think you could do a American-style Goodwood. I think this venue is possible to do it, where you incorporate an air show, you incorporate a huge concours car show on the golf course, you incorporate a very prestigious special race groups, but it would take, it's not for the everyday competitor. And the reality is I had to make a decision a long time ago. Do I try to take care of the masses, or do I try to be for the ultra elite rich? And it's literally that simple. And for me, growing up in a blue-collar neighborhood in upstate New York and a dirt racer, I went where my heart lies. I'm a racer at heart, and you know, to be able to today to go open up a race in every race in the country and say this race group can come for free because you have a Porsche or you have a MG or you have a Formula Ford or whatever your car is. And I did that this year for the first time. We had free entry for one race group. I keep going with the sponsors, which my focus now, he's going to run the business. I'm not going to run the day-to-day business anymore. I'm going to focus on two things. I'm going to focus on hospitality, and I'm going to focus on where our racers, I'm going to have a restaurant on wheels at our races for our drivers. That they can, instead of eating a greasy hamburger, nothing against greasy hamburgers, but I don't want to eat them 15 weekends a year. I want to eat good food at lunch and breakfast. I want to provide that opportunity for racers at our hospitality. And the second thing I want to do is I want to go head down on sponsors. And that's where I really see me going to lift both Trans Am and SVRA to another level. That's what I want to focus on. You decide if they're having chicken or beef at the Saturday party. You answer the guy on Facebook. I'm gonna focus on what I want to do, and I think I can strategically lift us to another level. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get us on TV. We're building a TV series right now. We're filming. This will be the 3rd episode at IMS this week, and the premise is simple. We go behind the scenes and see one of the drivers, or amateur driver, see what they go through to get a car ready. Like this episode, a guy is a neonatal surgeon. He takes care of newborn babies that have problems. He operates on them when they're born. But yet he's going to be in a 69 big block Corvette racing with Johnny Rutherford here, and we're going to follow them through that journey. We also went down and we got Willy T's co-driver. He's a young kid, good-looking kid who preps cars, show what he went through to get here, and we'll show him and Willy how they do this weekend. That's going to be our show every week, and we'll do it at a different part of the country. And I think there'll be no throwing wrenches. It'll be a real reality show, but it will be about people, not necessarily just the racing side. It's not a racing show. It'll be about the people who love racing and love their cars. Those 3 things I'm going to focus on. He'll do all the rest, and I'm going to get married. Life is good.
Now, did you tell him to hang up the president's hat so you can do a lot of this from home? You didn't, yes or no? You didn't say anything, but he'll be around the house. I say you didn't say anything, but if he works from home, you'll be saying, haven't you got somewhere to go?
No, I go with him.
Oh, that's true. And by the way, for those of you who probably have seen Kim before, her daughter is with her tonight too. Young lady. What's her name?
Madeline. Madeline.
Madeline. I'm sorry. I know your mother. I get all nervous. Now that he's taken over that, you have, now the pressure is on you.
That's right, Facebook.
Do you have, other than Mark, I saw Mark come in here. I don't know where he went. Mark, where are you?
There's Mark.
He spends, I swear, 22 hours a day on Facebook. He puts up stuff. He digs up stuff that even guys that were here 80 years ago don't remember. But he finds it. He's there all day long. And I'm sure his wife says, hello, remember me? I see you have a grandson now, so now you leave her on the side, you're with him too. Okay. But by the way, I want to thank Mark for helping putting all this together, and I got to cut us off now because there's 5 more people to come up. What's there to say? You have built something that when you first came here, I thought, he sounds like he might know what he was talking about. You do know what you're talking about, and it's worked. And the last time I think I said, how many people work for you full time? Was it 12 or 9?
Well, now we're up to 10.
10. Oh boy! Wow.
Double digits.
This is a growing thing. 10 people full time. Wow. I was going to apply for a job, but I guess I won't have to. Can't. But what you're doing is great. You're back for what, 3 more years?
Oh, I'm going to be at it hopefully a long time.
Well, I mean, you said you signed a contract today for 3 more.
Oh, here, I'm
extension.
sorry.
Yeah.
We just signed a 3-year deal.
Okay, and you're going back to Father's Day.
We're going back to Father's Day for sure next year, and then we'll figure out what the best date is after that. But for 21, because they're going to do a repaving in 21, so we got to dance around that. But the good news is, we'll be back.
All right.
And I don't know if there was any question of that, but it's just nice to know that you're appreciated. It's on paper, and that's one less thing we got to think about, and we got enough to think about. So he really handled that beautifully, and it just. All of our agreements are now under multi-year, all of our races are under multi-year agreements, and it's just nice for us to have certainty in our schedule. It's rational now. I love the dates we got all the way across the board, because we added Laguna and we added Lime Rock this year, so now it's spaced out better, and I like coming here on Father's Day. I don't know if it's a sentimental thing for me, because I used to watch the 500 with my dad. But it just means something to me. This is where I belong on Father's Day in my mind.
Is your daughter going to be here this weekend?
I don't know. Oh, not this weekend. No, because they got soccer and all that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The kids grow up, don't they?
Yeah, their kids grow up.
So now they got to leave the pretzel business to their management.
Absolutely.
Tell her I said hello.
I will.
Please do. Matt, good luck.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Where are you going? Are you going to be living here? Or are you going to be living?
I do live here, yes, and I'll be staying here. Yep, I've lived here nearly my whole life and have no plans to leave.
You've lived here. Where'd you go to high school?
Went to Pike High School. I'm a Red Devil. That's right.
Well, you woke 3 people up when they heard Pike. Ooh. Well, that just means that I don't have to pester Tony quite as much. And I'm going to tell you, you hear everything he's doing. If I send him a text, I'll hear back from him usually within 2 hours, usually or sooner than that. So he does respond. I got to take my hat off, which I won't, but my hat off. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. Welcome, Matt.
Don, really appreciate it.
Do you have a deal with Nike or somebody get shoes so he have somebody, when he wears those out, he get another pair? Huh? Have you got a deal with
These aren't stylish enough?
I'm sorry?
These aren't stylish enough?
I didn't say that. You wear them out.
Oh.
At the end of a weekend, you'll need another pair. Thanks for being here. He is now the CEO
Thanks for having us on.
of SVRA, Tony Parella, and Matt, the new president. If you are looking to buy a vintage vehicle, a vintage Indy car, or you found one, you said, it needs to be restored. What am I going to do? Yeah. What am I going to do? Willy, I'm sorry, you awake? Come on. I tell you what you do. You call Bill Throckmorton down at the Grand King shops. He can help you. He can rebuild the car for you. And why did this thing die? And if you need anything built, if you need engines, here's the guy that rebuilds the engines. So give him a call. The shop is located at 8155 Crawfordsville Road in Indianapolis, and you can reach them at 317-820-3959. They can rebuild almost any car. So if you want to buy a car, need it restored, he's the one to do it. My next guest, when I was wandering around, he's a movie star, so he just wanders with the cars. Sitting next to me is an old-timer. He's also vintage. He's been involved in racing in a number of areas for probably the better part of 60 years at least. And he will be performing once again this year. He was down at, you went down to COTA, and you were you at Iowa? Hello?
No, it was in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, that's right. And he will be driving here this weekend. Please welcome Mr. John Martin. And the guy sitting next to him thinks he's probably the cat's meow. They now have a movie, a documentary on his life. And when you look at Willy when he was jumping on top of cars because he won, you look at him today, it's a good thing he's got a hat on. He used to have hair, slim like me. Now he's a star. Got a hell of a good movie going on him. I've seen parts of it, and it will be out, and it's called, of all things, they used to call him this, Uppity. That's the name of the movie. Please welcome Willy T. John, are you surprised that vintage racing is catching on like it is? I mean, you probably never expected to be driving a race car anymore at this time.
Well, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect to be here this long.
Oh.
If I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have took a lot better care of myself.
Linda said, I was thinking he wouldn't be here, but he fooled you, didn't he?
Yeah, and the other thing is, you don't have to be crazy to be in this business, but it sure helps.
Yeah, it helps a lot. When did you drive your first race car?
I drove my first race car probably 1960.
Oh, I was in the Navy at the time.
Yeah, I was a drag racer.
Oh, drag racing.
Yeah, I built a drag racer. I was an engine specialist for Pontiac Motors. And I built a dragster out of scrap parts.
Speak right into the end of it.
Okay, well, this end's better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk in the right end of this makes
There
better.
you go.
But anyway, yeah, I started drag racing until it became a drag. Then I got involved in sports car racing.
Well, going 4.5, 5 seconds at the time, probably 5.5 seconds, this wasn't worth it. You had to go out and go farther, longer, and drive.
Yeah, it was all over with too quick. So I went racing with a friend of mine, and I built his engine every Saturday night. And he didn't know why he was blowing his engine up so much. But he was running like 14-to-1 compression on a stock piston. That didn't work too good. So I had to put new ones in every night.
And strangely enough, since then to now, you're still building engines.
I'm still building engines. I'm building engines in a shop. In 1976, I built 26 Offenhausers in that very same room. I worked for Aga, Jane, and King at the time, and I helped set them up. I built all the engines for all three cars for 3500s and the short track engines. And other than that, I didn't do anything for them.
Well, that's good. William Theodore. Somebody said to me, who's coming? I said, William Theodore. Who the heck is that? I said, the motorsports world all knows him. Really? What's his name? William Theodore. How about Willy T? Oh, yeah! He's going to be there? How did you come up with Willy? Who gave you Willy T?
It started, actually, when I started my career in England, the press, Anthony Marsh, called me Willy T. And because it was William T on my entry, and it became Willy T.
And now everybody knows it.
No, everybody calls him Uppity now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I read the story.
That happened in NASCAR.
Tell that story. I read it. I've seen how you came up with Uppity, how you got tagged with that.
When I went down to NASCAR, I was very fun, more fun than they wanted me to be, and they weren't quite used to it, and so some of the old guard thought I was uppity.
That's not true, is it?
And I wanted to, and I wasn't going to let them down.
You know, I understand. When I first started my television show in the early 70s, I was the only northerner that went to NASCAR, and you could have shot a gun and not hit anybody at the time. There was nobody there. And I'd go out with Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough and Leroy Yarborough, and I couldn't keep up with those guys. How the hell they drove the next day is beyond me. I couldn't take it.
Neil Bonnet had to be in there, too.
Yeah, he was part of it. And they'd say, what happened to you? You're out of my league. So I know they did party a lot. It's all changed today, but tell me about the movie or the documentary. What brought that on?
It started, Adam Carolla, the producer, did a movie documentary about Paul Newman entitled The Racing Life of Paul Newman. Well, Paul had he was very influential in the beginning of my career. And if it wasn't for Paul Newman, I would have never been in Trans Am. And so he got me my first pro deal. And he called me out of the clear blue and said, "Hey, kid, I got a deal for you if you want it." And he explained the deal. So I said, "Well, if you recommend it, I'll do it." Well, Carolla did this film about Newman after he passed. Well, I did a piece in the film, and then when it was done, Carolla asked me. He says, "You got a great story, and we'd like to capture it." I said, "On one condition." He said, "What's that?" I said, let's not gloss over anything. and we didn't. And the only thing we left out was the party scenes. We couldn't do that.
Probably didn't
That's
have enough.
leaving something out.
Yeah.
They probably didn't have enough videotape to put those in.
Yeah. No, the party scene, we left those out.
You know, during your career, you became, in fact, I was out when Armstrong gave you a test at the Speedway, and you got out of the car. I said, how'd you like it? You said, boy, these things are fast. And that's probably at that, and I forget what year that was, but Armstrong put you in the car and you did a
I
test.
think he didn't say that these cars are fast.
I know that.
He
But
said, you guys are crazy.
that too.
Well, I mean, and this place is a special place for crazy men, and I mean, it can make you or break you. It's like no place on the planet.
Now you're a married man. You've calmed down. None of this all-night party stuff, right?
My wife, you mentioned drag racing. My wife asked me, she says, why did you pick that kind of racing instead of drag racing? I said, because I want my fun to last more than 4 seconds.
Well, that's the best answer I've ever heard, I'll tell you that. You know, during your career, you got to know and associate with a lot of guys, and I remember you had a conversation with Muhammad Ali, and what is it he told you when you were talking to him about your career?
Well, I met Ali in London when I first started racing, and the British press introduced me to him, and they wanted to do a pick. And he was shocked that I was over from the United States driving racing cars. And he was, what's a black boy like you doing over here in England driving race cars? And I told him, I said, well, that's where I wanted my career to go. You ever been scared? I said, you ever been afraid of Joe Frazier? I'll knock you out right here. And that was the beginning. And he mentored me, and he just reminded me that I had to have resolve. He said, you're first. I don't know any black drivers. And then he took me in his car and says, you think I could race? He did. He took me and he kept looking over. Am I a good driver? And I said, well, then stick to your day job.
John, what's the scariest thing that ever happened to you in a race car?
Probably because it didn't start.
Oh.
That would be the scariest thing in my life. But yeah, I've brushed the walls with where it could end it all. But every time you strap one on, every time I qualified at Indy, you just suck it up and you're going to rub elbows with death for 4 laps, and you do what you got to do.
You started out, I think you were one of the first with the Javelin, if I remember right.
Yes, I worked for Javelin in '68 and '69 for American Motors. We built 2. George Fomer and Pete Repson were the 2 drivers.
They were pretty good shoes.
They were pretty good shoes. I was a crew chief over both cars with the stipulation if they ever had an empty seat, I wanted to be the next seat, or I wasn't going to build their cars for them. So that was the agreement. And then '69, I was a driver. But in '68, to prove my point to him, that's when one of Kennedy's brothers got killed at a Mid-Ohio race. He was assassinated, and they canceled the race, and they asked me to if I'd qualified George Fomer's car, because they put the race off the next weekend, and George had a commitment. So they asked me, like 30 minutes to go, would I qualify George's car? Of course, he could start in the back on Sunday. And I said, I'll be glad to, but I already had Pete on the pole, and they were just elated. I said, if I sat on the pole to move Pete over, can I keep the ride Sunday? And the big man reached over and pat me on the back, said, sure, son, you do that, you got to ride. So I told the guys, duplicate Pete's car, put 5 gallon in it. I'm either going to be on the pole or I'm going to be in the trees. So I went out and set a new track record, and I sat on the pole, and I kept the ride.
Now, Willie, you have a son, and he doesn't drive race cars. He's got better sense than that. But he is a champion shooter.
Yeah, and I didn't plan on that. Shooting was my hobby. I didn't like golf or tennis. I just didn't make enough noise, and so I started shooting with my grandfather and uncle, but I took it a step further, and once I quit racing, I started shooting clays, and not skeet or trap, but sporting clay. And Theo used to go out with me, and he was too small to carry the gun. He couldn't hold it up, and so he pushed a button for me when I called pull. Well, now he's 27. He won the National K-Cup Championship 2 years ago. 3,300 shooters he had to beat to win that. And so I didn't expect that it was going to become worldwide, because I thought once the racing career was over, you were going to not go anywhere. Well, I had to take him to England, had to take him to Dubai. He couldn't rent a car; he was too young. So I was taking him, and I was just in London with him 2 weeks ago. So for the World Championship, and he's done real well. And most importantly, he's got a goal. And when kids have a goal at a young age, they usually the trouble is less that they can get into. And he still likes girls, though.
Well, something came from his old man.
Yeah, yeah. I said, look, son, you got to keep your priorities right.
There you go. Shoot first.
Yes.
And then ask later. Okay. Didn't he win the championship in Dubai?
No, he finished He finished 7th in Dubai out of 1,100 shooters, and Dubai is the richest shoot of them all. And to win that, you can win. Well, the winner gets $250,000 cash.
Oh, really?
They pay you in cash there. So we came home with $85,000 in cash. And anybody in IRS here? Anyway, we came home, and we had friends. Him and his buddy Joey Bolton. We were distributing cash out, 10,000 at a time, to some of the people who we knew that were flying home. So, and we paid our taxes. Paid.
Willie, I believe you've never told a story that I am ever aware of.
I don't embellish.
That either.
Oh, hey, it's like yeast on bread, baby.
John, how much fun is it for you now to get in a car, like the various events you've driven for SVRA? What's it like for you to feel to get back in a car and do somewhat competition?
It's a blast. It's a lot of fun. You get to meet people you've known forever, and people that's known you forever that you don't know, but you make new friends every year, and it's really a blast. And Tony does such a good job of making that all happen for everybody. And what I like about it is the youngsters that seem to be coming that's interested in it, and a lot of gives me a chance to pass off some of the knowledge that I have that'll go down as other people not knowing. So it's a feeling. Makes me feel like my age, 35 years old again.
You just had your 40th birthday. I think.
How old was that? How old did you just say? 35?
Yeah, I'm going on 36. Yeah.
I'm trying to get 45.
Well, nobody buys that?
No.
I see. Are you still living in Texas?
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean, oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought maybe the missus would have moved you out of the,
Well, the missus is from Montana.
Oh.
And my wife used to play basketball for Montana State. My wife's 6'2". Her sister is 6'5". And her sister played pro ball for 10 years. So I like to go to the supermarket with the both of them, right? Because I'm 5'10". And so when we walk in the supermarket, they go on each arm, right? Cassandra and Stephanie, and it's just great, man. It's great. it's great because the guys in the meat market could, they keep sawing, and as we go by, and they're sawing and they're not cutting straight anymore. They're cutting at an angle. But this race, I got to tell you, what Tony Parella's done for vintage car racing, not just SVRA, but just for the whole sport, insane. Because the first year was just Indy cars. First 2 years, I think it was just IndyCar drivers. And then we started incorporating some NASCAR drivers. And now we got a hell of a rivalry going on. Yeah.
Didn't I understand Bobby Labonte and Bobby Labonte will be here, and who's the other one?
We got Labonte,
Todd, yeah, that's right. Todd Bodine, Mike Skinner. So they got some. Yeah. So you guys can go and show the NASCAR guys how to drive a race car.
Well, they're very proud of their exploits, and we're proud of ours too. So no, it's the driver meeting is great. If you can all show up for the drivers meeting, it's classic alumni stuff, and it's who's going to buy and who's not going to buy.
Yeah. More likely who's not going to buy. Well, I've got a couple more guests I got to get it through here, but I appreciate you taking the time, John. I know you're here in town, but you're working a lot on Tuesday night, so I don't see you all that often. Glad to have you here. It'll be interesting to watch you run. And, of course, Willy, anytime you're around, which is never, stop in and tell Theo I said hello. I was hoping he'd be with you tonight.
No, he's practicing for a major coming up next weekend in Chicago.
Chicago?
Yes, 2 world championships a year. The first one's in London, and the second one is in Chicago. No, and believe me, he's not practicing drive-bys, Right. Sorry, media. Sorry, Al Sharpton. But but he's getting ready for the suburbs.
All right. Well, give him my regards. I was looking forward to seeing him, but tell him good luck.
I sure will.
I don't know what else you can say. To veterans of the sport, John Martin and the man they call Willy T.
Good.
Thanks for being here. I got a couple more guys coming
How
up.
old am I?
And,
I'm 80.
Where's JP?
Dang.
Is he still alive?
Really? Man,
serious. It's a heart attack.
Hey, damn, I'm proud of you.
JP, are you here? He left? What the hell's the matter with him? Is it too late? It must be too late for him. You got to take a nap. All right, Donnie, come on up.
Way it should be anyway, huh, Donnie? That's right.
My next two guests are also 500 veterans, but and both of them have run the short tracks. They made their name and they made their way up through the ranks, through the short tracks in the United States Auto Club, on dirt, on pavement. And the gentleman sitting next to me took the world by surprise when he won the Copper World Classic down in Phoenix, which eventually led to getting a ride in IndyCar. He's probably one of the most popular drivers to come along in many a year. Please welcome Mr. Jimmy Kite. And sitting next to Jimmy is a man who also has made his way through to IndyCar and the Indianapolis 500 through the short tracks. He's run for a number of years, and he's one of the smart ones. Not that I'll go into that, but very impressive what he's done with his career. And I think you've driven up until the last year or two. I've seen your name every so often. But he's now living in Indiana. He's living in Greenwood, so I can chase him down every so often. Please welcome Mr. Donnie Beechler. Donnie, what started you in racing? Was it you couldn't play basketball? You were too short?
Pretty much.
You couldn't reach the grill at McDonald's, so you went to drive race car.
That's exactly what I did. I actually chased my brother.
Really?
Yep, he bought a sprint car, and I stooged for him for a year or so, and I got tired of that, and so I went to the bank, borrowed $5,000, and bought my own sprint car. So that's how it all started in 1981.
Really?
Yeah.
You've got, of late, it seems to me that what I've seen you in primarily is Silver Crown. Are you still running Silver Crown from time, or are you done now?
Yeah, I'm pretty much done. I mean, I'd love to get back in it, but my brain says yes, but my body says no. So
Really? Yeah, but you still got-
2011 was my last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the biggest thrill race you had that you drove?
Well, probably, of course, the Indianapolis 500.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an amazing opportunity to get to run that race 4 times for me. But my dirt track years, probably the 95 Chili Bowl, we won that, was pretty amazing. So we've had a few Silver Crown victories.
Yeah,
So I've had a good run.
you've had a lot of good success. Do you still have the trophies? So somebody has to. I see you got kids old enough now; they can dust them. You don't have
I
to
have
worry
a
about
few.
them.
I give away a lot of them, though.
Oh, yeah?
I have.
Jimmy, what got you started?
It's funny, it was right about the time that, and we're not that much different in age, but back when Donnie and some of the guys I know were running a sprint car track in Farmington, Missouri, I saw some of those guys running, and I knew when I was 5 years old, I wanted to run a sprint car at Farmington, Missouri, and I never knew it would turn into getting to do everything I did, but we actually talked, I think it was last year or the year before, and we were talking that I think we could count 4 of us, myself, Donnie, Jack Hewitt, and Clausen were the only 4 people that have ever driven the Indy 500 and a wing sprint car at Farmington, Missouri. So it's fun to say we were in that little group. So,
What was your favorite track? Obviously, Speedway, but aside from that, when you're in the short tracks.
it depends on like you said, the car. I mean, Atlanta Motor Speedway was always close to my heart because I grew up down there and got to always go there every year with my dad to the NASCAR races or whatever was racing there. Watching them, growing up, it really was a little track there in Missouri, St. Francis County Speedway called in Farmington, Missouri. Literally, I remember until I was 16 years old, my goal in life was to race a sprint car at Farmington, Missouri. And then when I found out you can get paid and do other stuff, it's like, oh, well, let me see what else we can do.
Did your mom and dad say, now, look, maybe this isn't the best solution for you to do, or best career?
It was. I mean, I started racing quarter midgets when I was 8, and Dad kind of helped me get into that, and Mom thought, oh, he'll outgrow it. And even then, at first, she didn't want me to do it, but then I think it was like a month later, I was out back playing baseball and fractured my wrist. So she's like, well, he's a kid. He's going to get hurt doing whatever. So at least till he's doing something he likes, and he'll outgrow it. Yeah. And fortunately, I didn't.
You haven't done that yet, have you?
Not yet. Still doing it.
So what is it you do on a day-to-day basis?
On a day-to-day basis, me and my wife own a company out in Brownsburg called Mindy's Brownsburg Signs. So we do a lot of
what?
Mindy's Brownsburg Signs. So we do a lot of commercial companies like the U.S. Nationals coming up. Raceway Park's one of our customers. So we are doing a lot of signs for them coming up, Brownsburg School District, and we actually are getting ready to do some stuff for Butler University. Got to get them up and going before school starts back over there. So we're busy right now.
And you work for Ruthie Forbes, who will be here in 2 weeks, incidentally.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the bosses over there with EEG. Last weekend, when the Ferrari Challenge Series was here at IMS, I drive the pace car for that series, and that's one of the EEG events that I get to work with them at.
Strange thing about it, somebody sent me an email and said, what's the noise I hear at the Speedway? I said, how in the world do I know?
Ferraris.
So I called over and they said, yeah, there's a Ferrari endurance race going on. I said, really? Nobody knew it. I didn't know. I didn't find anybody that knew it was there.
Yeah, it was just because it's a Ferrari event, so it wasn't actually like an open event. And I don't know exactly how all that works because I'm like you, I was surprised there wasn't more about it. But I do know they've already announced that they are coming back next April. So hopefully they make a little bit more hubbub about it and make it more open to the public to be able to come into that next year.
Donnie, other than your businesses that you have, what else do you do? Does that keep you busy with your 2 kids, your wife pointing things need to be done?
Well, I actually kind of semi-retired, but I invested a lot of my money.
Are you that old or
I am that old.
Oh boy.
I am actually. I invested a lot of my money into real estate when I was racing. So, but I've sold a lot of it. I still have some left, but I
bet your sum is a decent amount.
Well, I just got tired of the rental game, the rental property and stuff. So I designed a new tool. So what my company is we take rooftop units, air conditioner units that are damaged by hail, and the fins on the condensers, when they get damaged, the HVAC companies, they just write those off. The insurance companies just pay to replace those. I designed this tool that actually straightens those fins. So now we go out for insurance companies and we repair these units instead of replacing them. And we're nationwide. We go all over.
Jeez. And I sat out, I've had 2 units recently, my last 2 homes, that had that, and the fins are bent. So I sit there with a screwdriver, go up and down and straighten them all. I think to myself, why can't somebody take a comb and run a comb through? Somehow, it makes no sense because they're bent. They're still work.
Right.
They're just not as efficient.
Right.
And you thought of it better than me, so.
Yeah, and we're just commercial. We don't do any residential yet, but we're working on just commercial units right now. We're headed up to Minneapolis Monday, and then we're potentially got a job in Omaha, Nebraska. So we're starting to get things
Nebraska?
rolling.
They got racetracks in Nebraska. Haul your car with you.
They do. Yeah.
Have you got any urge to get back in the car? Or you said,
Tony has blessed me that I get the opportunity every year to run with him, and my kids love it. They love to come back, and we look forward to it every year. And it's that satisfies my appetite, I guess.
If any of your kids said, Dad, I think I'd like to do that.
My daughter probably would want to run and race, but after you've been through the run of it, you just don't really want to point your child in that direction. And she's an amazing artist, so she needs to keep focusing on that.
And it's kind of hard to paint if you've broken your hand
It
or your
is.
wrist. Yeah.
It is,
You're
absolutely.
like this with a brush. It wouldn't work well. Jimmy, when I first met you, you were a young, single guy and strapping on a helmet and a driver's suit every weekend and racing somewhere. Now you're married, kind of kick back. But you probably have a honey-do list at the end of a week like everyone else of us does.
I do, but it's just make sure everything's still running at the shop. If I go on one of my trips and come back and anything's maybe not working the way it's supposed to be, it's my job to make sure it needs to get working the way it's supposed to be.
Well, have you ever gotten a call? She said, "Hey, you need to come back now. We got a major problem and it doesn't work and we can't continue."
Not those, but I've gotten the "you need to get your butt back here as fast as you can" calls. Well, let me take that back. In May, I was out giving rides at the fairgrounds for Dodge for the Mecum auction, and I get a phone call, and she never calls me, when I'm working, and I saw my phone was ringing. I'm like, what is going on? And I answer the phone, and it's her in a bit of a panic going, I think the house is on fire. Lightning just struck the house. So, I literally jumped out of the car, and I'm telling everybody, guys, I got to go. I'm out of here. I'm headed to the house. And so many times I'm on the road in California or wherever, and I wouldn't have been able to do that. The one time I'm working here in Indy, thank God that's when it happened. So I was able to get home, and it did. It struck the house, and so went down the back wall and all the outlets. And when it got to the last outlet, basically blew that outlet out. So the kitchen just smelled like electrical fire, and it was full of smoke. But fortunately, we still had a house.
Well, if you hadn't gotten there in time, just think what would have happened.
Oh, if I would have been out of town, it would have been worse, I'm sure.
Yeah, you'd come back into town with a flag going, sorry. So you're in the graphics business. How does that fit into a race car driver business?
Just the connections and stuff. Heck, since I was a kid, I was putting stickers on models. So I've been doing it forever. But it, just something I've always been fascinated with, and the situation came up. Actually, 4 years ago today, Mindy's dad passed away in an auto accident, and they had the company together originally. And so right after that, I helped her. We basically had to start over from scratch. So I helped her start up the new one, and we started up the new company, and been building it kind of back up ever since then. So it's doing well. She's doing a great job, and I'm happy she lets me keep working with her and doesn't kick me out of the shop.
Hell, she might kick you out of the house if you're not careful.
Right.
What's the name of the company again?
Mindy's Brownsburg Signs. Mindy's.
Mindy's.
Yep.
And where is it located?
Brownsburg.
Where?
Brownsburg.
Yeah.
Done.
205 East Main Street.
205 East Main.
Yep.
Okay, you're on Main Street. Boy, I didn't think he knew where it was. Boy, it had me nervous there for a minute. Donnie, having watched you drive over the years, there was just something that early on when I'd watch you, I said, this guy has got to get to the Speedway. At some point in time, he's got to make it. Not that I was any genius of any kind, but I thought, you watch these guys, you see some of the ones that have come up the way you did. So I watched the way you handle a car, that I just thought you would get there. And when you got there, what was it like? Was it everything you thought it would be, or was it more?
Well, my deal was just a phone call. It was just a God thing that I was 37, and I was actually almost ready to retire. We'd run the dirt series and the champ cars, and I was building a house, and I was just tired of running the dirt. And in February of '98, Larry Cahill had called me. He says, "Hey, Donnie, I just bought an IndyCar team, and I want you to be my driver." And I says, "Larry, I've never drove a rear-engine car or anything like that." He says, "Well, I've never owned one, so we're going to be just fine." So we put this all-rookie team together. We had one guy on our team in '98, Randy Skinner, who had some experience, but we took a used car that we had gotten from John Menard. I think it was one of Tony's cars, but we bolted that thing together and went out and made the race in '98. So it was amazing. I really didn't know what I was doing. When you drive these cars, each car drives a little different. You need some input. Thank God Johnny Rutherford was kind of my mentor when I did my rookie orientation. So, just to get feedback from him was very valuable. So.
What was it like on your first race day? You walk out of the garage, you walk down Gasoline Alley, and you get underneath and you look at the grandstand, you go, holy smoke.
Yeah, it's your rookie year, you really don't know what to expect. So everything is, a new experience. And I kind of felt bad that, as a rookie, the reporters and people who want to interview you, they're like, I bet you dreamed of this as a kid, which you kind of do, but in your head, in reality, it's never going to happen. I remember racing down at 16th Street Speedway in the midgets, go by the Speedway and go, yeah, there's the Speedway, and you just keep going, and you just, but to get that opportunity to run at the 500, and it even though you don't win the race, it changes your life.
What was it like the first time you got out there and you're running? Probably never run that fast ever. And
170 probably was the fastest I'd ever run in a champ car, probably.
And you're riding along there thinking, well, this isn't too bad. And you look in the mirror and there's a guy right there.
Yeah.
Going as fast as you are. And
Well,
maybe
and
faster come around. What was that like?
Well, and just where we start, granted, we didn't have the fastest car, but when you start back in, row 10, 9 or 10, the air is terrible. The first 10, 15 laps, you're thinking, my car is broken. There is something broke on my car because this is not handling the way it did before. But it's just the air, the turbulence, because they depend so much on downforce that hot dog wrappers, everything flying during the first 10 laps.
When you're near the back, you don't realize how dusty the track
It's
is
terrible.
until you get
It is terrible.
27 cars in front of you kicking it up. You go,
Yeah,
holy
it's
smoke, where'd this come
terrible.
from? What about you, Jimmy? When you got here, now you drove for what's his name? Andy Evans, and he took you out after you won the Copper World Classic. He took you out for a test, and as you're walking out the door, he said, "Be careful. He's going to sign you to a contract. That might not be a good idea." You come back, and what had you done?
We did, and it worked out. I got to run my first Indy 500 in that, and it was kind of funny because me and Donnie, were rookies the same year, so we both got to experience that all together. Me, him, Yaley, there was Jack Hewitt. There was a bunch of us open wheel guys. It was a fun group that year.
And what did you think when you walked out on race day?
Race day is a special thing, and April testing, the stands are silver. Practice day, the stands are silver. And then all of a sudden you make because we were on the back side of C Garage. So you walk out, and I remember telling myself, just another race. I know it's Indy, but, you're trying to talk to yourself, just another race, just another race. And I made that turn. I walked around the back side of the garage, and I made the turn to look out at Gasoline Alley. And right there you could see the two sections of stands, and it was nothing but color and haze. And right then I stopped, and it was just like, wow. And then as you get closer and you get out on pit road, and I stopped, and it's, left as far as you can see and look, it's just color, just people everywhere. And you look to the right down in turn 4, and it's the same thing. It's just all these colors that you hadn't seen the whole month. And when you go through all the pre-race stuff, and you start your engines, and you start to drive around, and I probably should have been scrubbing tires, and I'm sightseeing. But it was an experience that I know all of us as rookies, like Donnie said, your rookie year is a blur, and I'm very fortunate that I got to do it again, so that the second year I actually got to absorb all that, because the first year was such a blur. It was just, I didn't remember half of it.
And on top of everything else, you suddenly became a fan favorite. You were very popular. The fans followed you. I used to sit and just kind of cackle. You're trying to walk somewhere and you're being hounded for autographs and pictures. Although if you were doing it now, they take a picture, they take a little thing out. Well, I can't with my flip phone, but pictures are so easy to take anymore. But the fans really took to you, which I got to think was kind of fun.
I was very lucky with that. I think a lot of it was just I had really great parents around, and they just used me to talk to my parents. But I was everybody, when I would walk up and talk to them, everybody asking where's mom and dad. They just wanted to talk to them, and I think everybody loved mom and dad as much as me. And I was very fortunate. But it's one of them things. I never knew I would get a chance to run IndyCar, so while I was there, I wanted to enjoy every waking second of it.
Can I say one thing
Sure,
here?
of course.
So I know Jimmy's parents. So his parents, his mom is probably the sweetest lady. So I'm in Charlotte, and my daughter is being born in Illinois. So Friday I go back to the hotel, got the red light flashing on the phone. I call, your wife's in labor. I get on the next plane the next morning, go to Illinois. She delivers Shay at 3 in the afternoon on Friday. I fly back to North Carolina. Jimmy shakes my car down because I'm gone. I get back, and his mom has went around to every driver and got a T-shirt signed, "Welcome Shay," and framed it and give it to me. So she's just an amazing person.
Oh, I always had, yeah. I always went and looked for them to talk to them. They were really great people. And Jimmy was telling me that his mom's doing really well, and his dad's had some eye problems. He's having surgery and has had surgery, and now I'll probably look better looking now than what 25 years ago. But great people, and that's the thing when your family backs you. Did your family back you, or did they say you got to be kidding?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom, my dad, he would never go to the races because I made him too nervous. But my mom would follow me to almost every race.
Really?
So, yeah.
Well, that's good. I used to kind of watch when Tice Carlson, his dad would be there. And I swear to God, at the end of every race, he had to go buy another pair of shoes. Jeez Louise. All he did was walk back and forth. But so you're here this weekend. You are a defending champion in the A class or something, right?
I am in A production.
A production, yeah.
Yeah, it was great last year. It was a lot of fun. I was 2 laps away from being overall. I just couldn't hold them off for the last 2 laps, but we still won our class, and it was it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, sometimes I think Tony knows my wish list because the last couple of years it's been all IndyCar guys, but my last season that I drove Indy cars, I also did NASCAR trucks. And now that they've opened it up to NASCAR this year, everybody that's on the NASCAR side was in the truck series the year I ran the trucks. And even the first truck race I ever ran, Bobby Labonte won that. So it's like instead of going back and forth to the 2 garages, this is the one race that all my buddies are together in one race.
Well, that's neat. What series are you in?
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I ran a Corvette last year. I think I'm in a Camaro.
Well, you're in A production too. Well, that means you 2 guys can be rubbing fenders.
We've done that a few times. We're good.
I'll tell you, at Phoenix, you were talking about his win at the Copper.
Yeah.
I thought I was really fast in that race because I was in that race.
Yeah, I know you were.
And Jimmy went around me on the outside. I thought my car quit. I'm like, what the hell was that? He just drove away from me.
Yeah, that was great. That was phenomenal, and the attention it got to you, and I think that probably was one of the big pushes that got you into IndyCar.
It was, and that was my coming out party. I mean, it was, like I've said it before, but like Jimmy Sills, when I passed him for third, I went by, and his spotter was a friend of mine, and, when I went by him, I'll clean it up, he said, who's in the 92 car? And he said Jimmy Kite, and then he proceeded to say, who is Jimmy Kite? But after the race, he made sure Sills grabbed him and took him down there because he wanted to meet me. And it's so funny because that was the first time Sills met me. But I mean, I have pictures from when I was 5 years old of me meeting Jimmy Sills. But finally, Sills knew my name, and that was cool.
Kind of interesting. Well, I hope all of you guys will take a trip out to the Speedway to watch us. It's a great event, a lot of fun, a lot of the old time. In fact, Jeff Brabham will be there. Is Matty in town? His son? Matt, his son. Is his son in town? Oh, they don't know. Matt. And Matt's not here. Okay. 'Cause he was at Mid Ohio. I thought maybe he'd hang around. But if you get a chance, they run Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Come on out, look around, get autographs. Some of these guys, like John, can't run fast anymore, so you can catch them to get an autograph or a picture. And if you're lucky, Linda will be there, and you can get hers too. But I want to thank you guys for being here, and we'll be out and watch us on the weekend.
Well, look forward to seeing everybody out there.
Jimmy Kite, Donnie Beechler. Is Renus here? Renus, are you here? Oh, here he comes. Look at him. This young man has been here before, and people were really impressed with him. So I invited him, and lo and behold, he's here, and there's a reason he's here in town. We'll get to that. But he had what normally would be considered a pretty decent weekend. The only problem is his main competitor won both races. He got a second and a third. He's running the Indy Lights, and he's got something really exciting coming up this week. So I sent him a note, are you going to be in town? He said, yeah, I'll be here Tuesday. I said, can you do it? Yep. So here he is. Please welcome Renus VK. What keeps you in town? I mean, normally you get on a plane and go back to the Netherlands to cut grass or whatever you do there. Why are you in town?
I got the opportunity to drive in IndyCar in Portland on August 7th. So, we're going to do the seat fit with Ed Carpenter. We did it today, so I'm leaving on Thursday.
You're going to get in an IndyCar. You're going to get a chance to get... When you came over here, what was your, when you came to America, what was your goal? When you came here, what did you want to accomplish? Is that what you want to do, to go to IndyCar?
That's the goal. That's what the goal has always been. And this is a big step in my career.
Are your mom and dad here?
No, they're back home for a little holiday.
What, for what? For the holiday? What holiday?
With my sister. Yeah, we actually planned the holiday with her.
Oh.
But, she deserves some time with her parents.
Really? Weren't they here for the race this weekend?
Yeah, they were here, but they left on Sunday, the same day as the race.
Yeah, gee whiz. How long's it? What's the flight between here and the Netherlands?
It's about 8 hours. So.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
Nothing. You've worked your way up through the ladder system, as it's called. Have each of the cars prepared you for the next one? When you were in US 2000, you was then the Pro Mazda series, and now you're in the Indy Lights. Have they prepared you for what was next? Have the cars been what you needed to move up?
Yeah, it's really been learning step by step with new cars every year. So that keeps me improving, and also just learning all the tracks. It just makes me a lot better.
I see a big sign on your car, Jumbo. What in the world is that? What's Jumbo?
It's a Dutch, the biggest supermarket in the Netherlands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't have much to do here, but it's just a very, it's a very enthusiastic racing fan, and he wants to give other drivers opportunities.
Really? Well, that's kind of nice. Does Anders ever shop there, do you know?
Anders?
Anders, yeah.
Anders Kroon?
Yeah. Does he shop there?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But he has lived in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said that. You and Oliver have quite a thing going on this year. You're battling each other. I think the last event before you came here, I think you won one or two of them. And now this weekend, he unfortunately won two, and you finished second, third, which isn't bad. But it doesn't help the point system. So how far behind him are you now?
I'm now 45 points behind, but I had two weekends with both the race, which was just one time a crash and one time a drive-through penalty. So that didn't help.
No, not at all. So where's your next event?
My next event will be Gateway, where we already tested
Yeah.
privately with the team, so we will have advantage there.
And who are you driving for?
For Junkos Racing, of
Yeah.
course, also Indy base. So
Right.
also went by today just to say hi to everyone again.
Yeah, and they said, "What are you doing here?" I'm impressed with what Ricardo has done since he started the teams in here. He's got a lot of trophies in a trophy case. When he opened that new building and he had the trophy case, I said, "You made one mistake." He said, "What's that?" I said, "That's not big enough. You're going to need more space. You're going to win more races and more championships." Are you set? Do you think you would be ready to go to IndyCar next year?
Yeah, I think there's a big chance that I will drive an IndyCar next year. There's nothing finalized yet, but we're talking, and I think the results show that I'm ready.
I would say, one thing about, and I agree with this. There's only 9 or 10 cars that run in Indy Lights, but the thing about that is, when they go by, all 9 or 10 come together. So it's a good competitive series. You don't need back markers particularly, and everybody in that series is capable of winning it most any time. They got some really good shoes that you got to fight through, and if you should happen to have a problem spin out or something, you got to work your way through it. It's not easy.
No, it's not easy at all. It's as hard of a competition as I've ever had. So it's always a tough fight, and it's just small but high quality field.
What track so far in your career have you found that fits your driving style the best?
I think Road America.
Really?
With the Indy Lights car, you have to be sideways there. I think if you watched the IndyCar onboard, you saw Rossi was sideways also, and I was just playing around, and it was so much fun, and quick too.
You were playing around. Is that what you call that? Oh, okay.
Well, it was fun. I think there's worse things than hustling an Indy Lights car around Road America.
So you think that, have you been in an IndyCar before, or is this your first stab?
This is going to be my first time, so I'm very excited.
I would think so. And you'll find suddenly, my gosh, there's more horsepower here, about twice as much horsepower. But a lot of the guys have told me that when they've gone to IndyCar, the Lights car is a little easier to drive than the IndyCar is.
I heard differently,
Really?
actually. I heard that the IndyCar is easier to drive than the Indy Lights car, so...
Well, I'll tell you what, when you're done next time you're in town, we'll find out. You come back.
Of course,
Okay.
we will.
All right, are you going to be in town any more this year, or you just come in for the race and go back home again?
We have nothing planned yet, but, well, this wasn't planned either, so we'll see what happens.
But when you get an invitation to take a test ride, you couldn't say no.
No,
Okay.
of course.
I knew that was coming. Are you known that the Dutch sports people follow your career, what you're doing, so that people know where you are and what you're doing and how well?
It's getting bigger and bigger. After the IndyCar test announcement, many Dutch people started following me more and more. And now I actually got many people asking if I have merchandise or anything, but I don't have it yet. I have those, but for myself. So
Well, I think that should give you an idea.
I think we have to start something soon.
There you go. It's good. That'd be a good idea. Because I know from, as I said when I introduced you, that when you were here the last time, I had a lot of people say, "You ever going to get him back again?" I said, well, he races and goes home. Got to get him back. So you're here, and here you are, and I think everybody's happy to see you. And I think your fan base seems to be growing from what I can see at the track. More people are paying attention to you.
Yeah, it's really starting to grow, and when I now walk through the IndyCar paddock, it takes about double the time just with handshakes and with autographs. So it's a really good sign.
Yeah, it is. When you were running in Europe, did you have a fan interaction there like you do here?
Not really, to be honest. There's just one focus on Formula One, and that's it actually. But now I'm trying to wake them up and look at IndyCar because it's way more fun.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And there must be several people that agree with you, because Marcus Ericsson has come from Formula One into here, and unfortunately he had a problem on the first lap at Mid-Ohio and didn't get anywhere. He was here last week. I don't know if that was what caused his problem, but he was here last week. and Felix was here the week before. So, and Felix did well. So, how did you start? Did you start racing in the Netherlands and then go to other, elsewhere in Europe to run?
Yeah, I did 8 years of go-karts, and then, well, my future wasn't going to be in go-karts, so I wanted to go to cars. And in go-karts, I met some people in America. I did 1 season of racing in the United States in go-karts, and then I got scouted by Simon Pagino to do a test in the USF 2000.
Really?
Yeah, that was in 2015. And then in 2017, I made the step for my first season in cars in America. And I stayed in America and really enjoy it.
How different is it here to rather living at home? Is America living here, is it much different? The food different, the people different, the traffic different?
It's a lot different, yeah. Well, it's America.
That's true. I've heard that rumor.
Yeah, well, my trainer and I are trying to get the most out of fitness and food. And there's lots of fast food places here.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
That's
But
not-
yeah, we find our places here, so it is possible.
Is the food here different, completely different than in Holland? Netherlands, I mean?
Yeah, it's a lot different. In the Netherlands, it's just, yeah, what's the Netherlands? It's
I don't
just,
know.
yeah, boring food, to be honest. But it makes quick drivers, as we see.
Oh, yeah. You said you work out. Do you work in a gym somewhere?
Yeah, we work out once or twice a day normally, and just depends on what the schedule is with what I have to do with the team. So we just finished the workout in Indy downtown, and now we had it here.
Yeah, well, it worked out well. Well, I'll tell you what. I know that your fan base is growing. People ask, "Are you going to get him back? Can he come back?" And look at Bailey and Chelsea are here, so you got fans here as well.
I know. I got some really nice fan art from Bailey too.
Oh boy. She'll
And that made me win in Road America. It's the same weekend that I got it, so.
She never gave me anything that I won with. Well, I didn't win. Well, listen, we wish you nothing but the best. I hope before the end of the season or after the season, before you disappear, you'll come back again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And
And I
I'd like-
will come back whenever I have time, of course.
And I would be really interested to hear what you think of the IndyCar at Portland.
Yeah, of course. I'm very interested too. I cannot wait to know what the difference is. And I'll post everything on social media, what my thoughts are and everything. So
All right.
if you have a look, you'll see, of course.
Well, you have a Facebook page?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
I don't know anything about that. Facebook I got.
everything you can find, I'm on it.
All right. Well, good. That's good. That's the way to attract attention. Well, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being here. Good luck to you on your test, and we'll look forward to seeing how you did.
Thank you.
There he is, Rinus VK. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. It might be a surprise, but we'll be back next week. Working on a couple of guests. I haven't gotten any real approval yet, but that's usually happens. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And don't forget, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Speedway, the SVRA is in town. Some of your favorite drivers will be there, so get out there. They always give you the opportunity to get autographs, pictures. So make sure you stop by. Until next week, Don Kay saying thanks for watching, thanks for being here. Good night.